Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to a brand new video here on the It's Cabo channel. We've got something that's a little bit different and quite special today. I'm finally building my new streaming PC, and if you guys are regular on the channel, you'll know that I've been waiting to do this for quite a time. It's going to seriously upgrade my streams. It's going to be easier to record. I tried it with some videos last week. I did it with some SVC videos you might have seen. And yeah, it's all working really well so far, so I thought I'd share with you how I built it. Some of you may not be regulars on the channel here, you may be looking at this for the building part of it, and I'm going to explain it all. For someone that doesn't know too much about PCs, I did computer science GCSE, but I'm not too sure on all the technicalities, but I managed to get through all that. I'd like to give a big thank you to Action Hannah 55. I'll leave her channel down below. She helped me a lot with building this, and I'm also going to try and make it hopefully interesting for you guys that are normal subscribers as well, so kind of cater to everyone here and hopefully everyone will enjoy it. There's not really too much else for me to say apart from let's get into me building this PC. Right, so we are just going to start off here with me showing you all the parts that you will need if you want to build this PC. I'm going to go into more detail with all of them when we get to that part in the building process, and we're going to be starting off with the case. You don't have to start off with the case, you can do this in a slightly different order to me. You can start off with the motherboard and parts like that, but I prefer to start with the case. I'm just getting it out here, you can see, and I'm going to do this with all the parts. You can see what it is. If you need in-depth specifications, they'll be in the description along with where to buy all of the parts, but this is the AVP Opius mid-tower case, so it's a bit bigger than my old PC, which was a mini tower, so this one is quite a bit bigger, but I actually like it like that. It was a bit easier to build than a mini tower PC, but you can see me just getting it out here and getting all of the protective wrap off it, and there was quite a lot of that. And I do like this case because it's got a glass side. You can see kind of into all of the parts and stuff like that. If you use light up parts, if you want light up fans especially, that could look nice, but yeah, I didn't. I've just got the case coming off here, and it's quite easy to take it off, it's quite easy to get inside, so I did like it for that. And you can see me here showing you that it's easy to get unlocked and just taking the bits off and putting them on the side. And when you're building any PC, guys, it's quite an obvious thing to say, but just make sure you keep track of all of your parts. I'm just putting them on the sides here. When we get into like the main bits of all the screws and stuff like that, I just kind of put all the bits on the side, and that worked quite well. You can see me here just removing this bit, being quite careful when I do get to the glass, and just peeling the plastic off, and it looks a lot nicer once that plastic's off. You can see it a lot better, and there was plastic on the other side as well, which I wasn't sure whether I should take it off at first, but I decided to. But yeah, I'm just kind of removing that here. We next move on to the motherboard. This is a bit I said you could do first, and this had quite a lot of parts in it, quite a lot of extras as well. You can see that's the actual motherboard there, but there was quite a lot of extras with this part. There was a disc. I wasn't going to use the disc, but that's if you want to update the hardware and software, like in the BIOS, I think. From stickers, stuff like that as well, that wasn't really too needed. There was a quick start guide, but there's a much better manual that you can get on the internet. But you can see the motherboard out of the packets there, and we are going to be combining it now with the AMD Ryzen 5 3400G processor. That just clips in quite easy there. I got this one because a graphics card was very expensive, and this is a budget build, and the graphics are fine. I can play games on it. I've played Football Manager on it. I've played Minecraft as well. I know like they're not the most taxing games, but it can handle like that kind of games, and it can render quite easily in 1080p, so I don't think it needs a graphics card. You could upgrade it if you get a graphics card here, but you can see I need to put the fan on as well, so I'm just removing the brackets here. This is a fan where you remove the brackets and put its own brackets back on instead of using the ones that come in the motherboard. Some of them they like clip on top, but with the Ryzen you kind of just remove it, and that all works quite well. And just another tip here, when you are putting the processor in, there'll be a little square, or I think it's like a triangle on the side of the socket that you plug it into, and there's like a corresponding triangle on the CPU, and that shows you which way to put it in. With this one, basically it faces upwards, so if you put like the little plastic bit at the top, you'll be able to yeah, basically be able to read it, if that makes sense to you. But you can see just unscrewing this here, keeping track of all my parts as I was before. This bit wasn't too hard. None of the screws in this build are actually hard, so you can see me there just holding the motherboard. I would recommend maybe putting the motherboard on a solid surface, maybe putting like a mat or something below it like I have here, just so it doesn't flex when you're trying to build with it. But you can see I put the fan on top there, just lining it up with all of the screw holes. It will only go on the correct way because of the way the screw holes are set up, so you can't actually put this on the wrong way. And then you can see I plugged it into the motherboard there, which you don't have to do yet. You can do that later. There's going to be a graph later on how to do all of the plugging in, but there you go. We're on to the Viper RAM next, and I've got 2x4 gigabytes of this. It does work a lot better than 1x8 dual channeling. I've heard does work quite well. Of course, I said earlier I'm not the most computer person, but I do know that. And yeah, just getting the RAM out here, and this is very easy to put in. You will be able to tell when it's in properly because you can see me trying to put it down here. The things will snap in themselves basically. The prongs either side, they will snap in themselves when you put it down the right amount most of the time. You may have to check it yourself sometimes, but most of the time if you get it in the right place, it will just snap down quite easily. So next we are going to be moving back to the case, and I've just taken off the other side panel. It comes off just like the first one. You just unscrew a few things and it slides right off, and I'm just getting all the cables out here and also releasing the screws because the screws are attached on the inside, and that's going to help you get your power supply in and a few things like that. So it is pretty important. See me just getting it off there, getting all of the screws out for later use. You can see all the cables. I'll go into all of that in more detail later, but we are going to be getting out our Co-Link power supply right now. You can see the whole name on the screen, and this took a while to get out because it was really well wrapped. There was a lot of protection around it, which I guess is a good thing. It's going to be less likely to break, of course, but you can see there how tight that plastic's wrapped. I had to go and get a pair of scissors to actually get that off properly. You can see it on the sides there. Once this came out, this was actually very easy to install. This was a bit easier than I thought it would be, but you can see me putting it in here. It goes in the bottom of this one. There's not like a really... It's not really that obvious, it doesn't tell you, but basically you push it into the back as far as it will go, and then it will line up with the screw holes here, and you can see me screwing it in now. That shouldn't cause too much of an issue. You can just see me tightening the screws here, making sure it's on. But yeah, just push the bit with the socket out to the back, and then move it around until the screws are lined up. Just push it as far back as you can, and hopefully it'll end up in the right place. And then yeah, just tighten it as much as you can. With finding the right screws, that's not really too hard. There'll only be certain ones that go in the right places. But we're moving on to our Kingston A400 960 gigabyte SSD right now. SSD, I thought it was much better than a hard disk drive because I do want my computer to be quiet enough for me to, of course, stream and stuff like that. And also, this is a lot faster. And I have noticed a difference. I had a hard disk drive on my original computer, and you can see here just where it goes. In the case, it's going right in that top right, and all it needs is 2 screws. So it goes in really easily. It's really light. This was a really good part actually. I was very pleased with this. It wasn't overly expensive, especially when you can compare it to the fact that hard disk drives maybe aren't as good, and they're around a similar price for a lot. So just 2 screws there. It goes in the top right. You can put it in the one below as well because you can see there was 2 marked out SD drives there, and that is going to plug in later onto the SATA cable that you can see here, just so you get the right cable. And then we were able to put that side back on once the SSD was in. Once you've got your drive in, that's all you need to do on that side. So you can secure that now, and we are going to be working on the inside of the PC now. So you can see here with the motherboard, that'll be the next thing you're going to put into the actual case. You need to line up, there's 6 holes I believe on this one. You need to line them up with these things called stand-ins, which are little gold kind of like things. You can see them on the screen now. I don't really know how to describe them, but they'll be on there. You need to line those up with the holes on the motherboard. But once you've got them all lined up, you will be ready to put the screws in. So once you've got them all lined up and you've put the extra ones in, like I said, then you can do this. The screws will again be quite easy to find because only the right screws will go in the holes. That's just going to secure the motherboard now, and we can put some more parts in. So we've gone for the fans, and you can use any fan. You can use 140mm or 120 with this case. Mine are 120. If you're using a different case or whatever, I say just try and just make sure you Google which fans work. You see me just spinning it around there. And then we've got the TP-Link extender as well. This is the thing you need for Wi-Fi. This is, I think it's called a network interface card or something like that, if I remember right from my GCSE computing days. But that's quite easy to put in. You see it comes with a little aerial kind of thing there, and it comes with a bracket as well. This goes in the same slot you'd use for an Elgato Pro. If you've got one of those, you can see it there. So if you're looking to use like an Elgato 4K or something like that, you can get a different Wi-Fi card. It's the same thing, but it plugs in somewhere else. But I'm going to be putting it in now, and there's like a little tab you can snap off the back of the case to put this in. It's quite easy to find. I'd say plug this in and then like see if it's in the right position, and you can unsnap the thing. But it kind of sounds weird the way I'm explaining it, but if you have the case, it will be quite self-explanatory. It'll be quite obvious to you what you're snapping off, but you can see there once you've secured it in, you put it in the right slot, and all slots will be shown in a minute. I've got a bit of a diagram, I said that earlier, I'm just going to remind you guys of that. You can screw the two aerials on, and you can see me just messing about with them here. I'd say just tuck them in, as I'm doing here, and that will kind of stop them getting in the way or getting snapped off while we're trying to work on the computer. But I also had to put the fans in. You can just see the fan that we put in earlier there, but there are the other two. We've got everything secured now. We've got the two fans. I put one on the top and one on the side. You might have to remove the dust filter for putting one on the top. You can put some in the front as well, but here is the diagram. We've got our CPU power and all of that stuff. The system panel connector is all the little cables. I'll explain that again in a second. I think that is going to come up on the screen, but those are all the cables that you will need if you want this PC. And you can see, like SATA, there's a few different places you can plug it in, a few others, but here are all the little cables as well, and that should be everything we need, and we will be ready to install Windows and use the PC. So you can see that I've ended up going back full screen face cam now, guys. So for installing Windows, I've tried to explain it a little bit. It's kind of hard to do while you're holding a camera and stuff at the same time trying to film it. So what I'd say is just watch one of the videos I've put down below in the description to help you out with that, because it's much better at explaining it than I was. It's not too difficult to do, but I do think those videos explained it better than I could. But that was the last thing you need to do before the PC is all set up, and then you can just go ahead and add all the programs and stuff like that. So if you want to see what programs and equipment I use for my streaming and how I get everything to work as it does, then let me know and I can do a second video on how to do that. I'd really enjoy that, because I know a few of you have asked about it before. But that's the end of this video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy, and hopefully you'll stick around for more. We have got lots more FIFA content coming out very soon on the channel using this new PC, and you will see a bit of a difference when I stream and with my SBCs and stuff like that. But that's all for me. Thank you very much for watching this video, because it was a bit different, and goodbye.